Hey friends, welcome to Girls Night. My name is Stephanie Wilson, and I am so glad that you're here. Each week, I have a girlfriend over, and we talk through one of the biggest questions that we're asking about our lives as women. We're talking about friendships and faith and relationships and self-confidence, about our calling in life and how to live every bit of our lives to the absolute full. Life is so much better and easier and absolutely more fun when we navigate it together as girlfriends, and I cannot wait to get started. So my favorite part of my job are the questions that I get from women in our community. And for years, years and years, I made it my mission to respond to every single one. I would get questions from women about relationships, about dating, about friendships, about job changes. And I just I was on a mission to not let one single message come into my inbox, one of the many inboxes that we all have these days, without writing back to it. And it was so important to me that when women would reach out to me, that they would know that I was there reaching back. So as you can imagine, over time, this started to become really overwhelming because the amount of emails in my inbox started to really build up. And even though I was spending the majority of my time writing back to people, I still wasn't able to keep up. And so finally, I knew something had to change. I was spending all of my time responding to emails, and that meant that I wasn't spending any time on new blog posts or courses or books or anything like that. And so we made a big change around here, and I was I went into this change kicking and screaming. I didn't want to do this, but I knew that it was important. And so finally, I handed over most of my inbox, and now my team responds to most of the emails that we get. And this is okay because, most of the time people are looking for something that we've talked about in a blog post or a podcast episode, but not always. There are so many messages that I get on a daily basis that I want to respond to. I want to sit down over coffee and talk through this together, and we don't get to. And I hate that. That's always bothered me. So that's where this idea for our very first Girls Night solo episode came from. This is the first one we've ever done. And when I tell you I'm nervous, that could not be more of an understatement. I am so nervous. I swear this is like the 7,000th take of this that we have done because I just want to get my words exactly right. But I'm going to try to shake that off and just have coffee. Hi. It's funny. I've interviewed so many, New York Times bestselling authors or Grammy-winning artists or, amazing business owners who are just taking over the world or changing activists that are changing the world. And I am never this nervous, but here I am with a microphone and it's just me. And my goodness, my hands are shaking. When I started Girls Night, 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, it's been a while, I started with a promise that we would do one season. I was nervous about podcasting. I wasn't sure I was going to be good at it. I wasn't sure I could figure out the technology. And so I made this promise. I said, number one, it's okay to be a beginner. And I wrote that on a sticky note, and I had that on my microphone for the longest time. And I just reminded myself that anyone who's ever done anything started out as a beginner. And the only way to get good at something is if you practice. You have to get through the part where you stink at something if you're ever going to get to a place where you're good at it. And so that's how I started out this podcast so many years ago. And I promised myself that I would do just one season. I was just going to give it a shot. If I didn't like it, if you guys didn't like it, then we wouldn't keep going. It would be fine. I'd give it a shot. I'd give it one season. And so here we are. We are doing one solo episode, not even a season. I'm promising myself and you one. And if I hate it or if you hate it, we will not do this again. But there are so many messages that I get from you guys, and I want to be able to answer them. And I can't answer all of them as much as that. I hate that. But I can answer some of them, and today I can answer one of them. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so here is, I have a question that I got from let me find it. Now I need to pull up here's the question. It says, Dear Stephanie, I have a Girls Night episode request for you. Recently, I found myself juggling about 1,000 different things at work and at home, and it's starting to feel overwhelming. And I know that I need to carve out time for rest. The thing is that I don't know how to practically do that. And especially when it feels like there's so many things that need to get done or people who are counting on me, I feel stuck. So I guess my question for you is, how do I find time for rest amidst my very busy schedule? Any advice you have would be so appreciated. So friend, you are not alone in this. I think all of us feel this way. We all play so many different roles all at the same time. We have our work selves and our home selves, and we are important. This is amazing. This is an amazing thing, but we are important to so many different people. We are a daughter, we are a sister, we are a boss, we are an employee, we are a friend, we are a neighbor, we are a mom, we are a wife, we are a girlfriend, we are, there are so many roles that we play in any given day. And it's really hard to balance all of them. And it's also really hard to make yourself, your relationship with yourself, the fact that you are responsible for caring for yourself, but a priority when there are so many other people who are outside of yourself that are also asking for your time and attention. It's easier to I've always found that we treat ourselves in ways that we would never treat someone else. And so, if my daughters came up to me and said, "Hey, mommy, we're hungry," I'd say, "Okay, let's get you some food." But I can feel my own stomach rumbling and think, "Oh my gosh, I'm hungry." And I'll be like, "You can wait, suck it up. You can wait." I would never treat someone else that way, but we treat ourselves that way so often. And so anyway, my point is I feel you. I have a lot of irons in the fire. So for me, you guys know this or may not know this, but I have an online media company where through my books and my podcasts and my online courses, I walk women through their life's biggest decisions and transitions, helping them create lives that they love. Not only do I run this business full time, but my husband and I also own and manage 2 rental properties here in Nashville. But the thing that keeps us busy more than our, 3 businesses, I guess, between the 2 of us, are our 2 twin daughters. We have 3-year-old, almost 3-year-old twins, Annie and Quinn, and we have our hands full, which is what people usually say to us when they see us out in public. They go, "Oh my gosh, they're so cute. Also, you guys have your hands full." And we go, "We know, we do. Yes, we do." And so if we're keeping track of all of those things, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm a mom, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, and I'm a person, just like you are. And I'm trying to figure out how to do all those things all at the same time, just like you are. And I'm exhausted, just like you are. It's a lot. There's so many things that are pulling at us at any given time, so many different people who need so many different things from us. And figuring out how to do them all it's not possible to do them all, I believe. It's just not. But we're asked to. And so we have to figure out how to manage that. The thing that I've been learning lately is that it's not even just about managing my time, it's about managing my energy. Occasionally, I will have time for something, but I won't have energy for it. And that's such a weird feeling. I feel like if there's time for it, I should be able to make myself do something. But time and energy are things that we have to learn how to preserve and conserve and spend intentionally. And so that's really what my work has been over, I don't know, my whole life being a person, but especially over the last, I would say 3 years of having just this new giant role that I've taken on as mom, and a role that is so time consuming and energy consuming. I think that in the last 3 years, I have done without rest more than ever in my life. I have been more tired, more has been required of me, and at all hours of the day, in a way that has never been the case before in my life. And I think that when you don't have something, rest, you realize how much you need it. When the girls were first born, we really did sleep like so little. We were feeding the girls. The girls were born just a little bit early. They were a little bit small, not really actually considering they're twins, but we needed to be really regimented about when and how much they ate to make sure they were gaining enough weight to be healthy and to stay out of the hospital. And so for months, we were feeding them every 3 hours, and it would take an hour and a half to feed both of them and then get them back to sleep. And so we really for months got 90 minutes of sleep around the clock, no more than 90 minutes of sleep at a time. And we did that for months. And I got to see really how a lack of sleep, a lack of alone time, a lack of care for myself impacts everything. I wasn't my best self. Carl wasn't his best self. Our marriage wasn't its best self. People can't can't live like that for very long. And that's one of the things I found myself saying in the hardest moments is I would say, this is not sustainable. And it was true. That's not sustainable. Thankfully, we didn't have to sustain it. The girls sleep great now. We sleep great now. But I do think that I've gained a deeper appreciation for rest and how important rest is for every corner of my life, because I didn't get much of it for a while. And then now trying to balance being a working mom and all these different roles that I play all at the same time, and the hours that they require and the energy that they require. I've needed to figure out how to manage all of that, and how to, like, if we are, as a wife and a mom and a business owner, I am my instrument. My family, my people, and my work require me to be my best self. And so in order to be my best self, I have to take care of myself. And I know that I'm not the only one in saying that that's really hard. And so I want to share with you 3 things that I have learned about rest over the last handful of years of trying to do so many different things all at the same time. And these are a little different from the rest advice I think we normally are given. I think normally, well, we'll get to that in a second. So I have 3 things to share with you. The first one is stop trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I think normally when we're given advice about rest, it's like, take a bubble bath, do a sheet mask, go for a run, read a novel. And when we're given blanket rest prescriptions like this, I think often it adds to our to-do list more than relieving us. It adds weight to us instead of relieving us of some weight. For me, I don't like bubble baths, and I don't really do sheet masks ever. I mean, unless I'm with girlfriends and someone happens to have an extra. I hate running, and I'm like not really a huge fan of novels. So none of those things would actually feel restful for me. And if I have someone else giving a definition of rest that doesn't fit me, if I'm not careful, I can add that to my plate, add that to my to-do list, add that to this like mental load of responsibility that I feel of things I should be doing on any given day. And I'm not actually going to feel rested if I do any of those things. Like those are, several more ways that I'm falling short if that's how we're defining rest or if that's how we're defining self-care. Something that I've been learning is that we all rest differently. So a while ago here on Girls Night, we had an episode where I got to interview Dr. Saundra Dalton Smith, and she wrote this incredible book about the 7 different types of rest. And we'll link to that episode in the show notes here. That episode was so helpful for me, though, because it hadn't occurred to me that there were different ways to rest and that in different seasons, I might need something different. One day, even from day to day, I might need something different when it comes to rest. And so hearing her talk through these different kinds of rest was so helpful to realize that like this looks different for everybody. This can look different for me from one day to the next. And that the prescription that someone else has handed to me about what rest looks like might not actually fit my needs. And so that's just the first thing that I've been learning that has been really helpful is that rest doesn't look one certain way for everybody. And it doesn't look one certain way from day to day either. We need to figure out how you rest best, what you need. Another thing that I've been figuring out is how do I work best? Because that's sort of the opposite of rest, isn't it? And there are also tons of prescriptions about how we should work as well. When I picture the perfect work day for someone else, like the prescription of a perfect work day, I picture like, you get in at whatever time, you have some sort of morning routine that gets you into your groove for the day. And then you have sort of hour by hour blocks of time for different tasks. Maybe you only check your email first thing in the morning and then at the end of the day. And then from, 10:30 to lunch, you work on X. And then you have meetings after lunch, blah, blah, blah. You have it perfectly scheduled out in this way. But what I've been learning over the last handful of years is that actually doesn't work for me. That's not how I like to work. That's not how I enjoy working. That's not how I do my best work either. And it didn't occur to me until, kind of recently that I can schedule my work days and really even my work weeks in a way that fits my brain and my energy levels and my tasks best. And so one of the things that I've started doing, and I don't do this super in a way that's like really very organized or regimented, because I find that the more organized and regimented I get about my like daily work schedule, the more I dread it, the more it feels like a job I don't want to do instead of a job I do want to do. And so throughout a week, I tend to have, this list of tasks I need to do. And they tend to fall in kind of different categories. Maybe I need to do a bunch for the podcast, or maybe I need to do a big writing project, or maybe I need to, answer a bunch of emails. And most of them, for me, some of the time, they're not super time sensitive. And so I can decide during the week, do I want to do a whole morning where I answer a bunch of emails? Okay, I could do that. Or do I do an afternoon of all things podcast? I get to look at this whole spread of things that I need to do during the week and sort of decide, like choose your own adventure each day of how am I going to spend the next couple hours? Okay, the next couple hours I really am going to devote to emails because I have that kind of energy right now. And now that that's out of the way, then the next sort of chunk of time I have, I'll work on something different. But that way I can get really focused on something. I can really dive deep into something and I can get it all the way done instead of feeling like I took a couple tiny little bites out of everything I have to do, but never actually made progress in any of the places where I wanted to. And so doing things in like big chunks like that, that's a way that I really like to work. And that's been a really important like learning for me in figuring out how to rest as well, because your daily schedule, the way that you put together your time of what you do and what you don't do and when you do things and when you don't do things, it's up to you. You get to decide. And so that's really the first thing is stop trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Rest does not have to look a certain way. You get to figure out how you work best and how you rest best. And that can change in different seasons of life. So here's the second thing. Give yourself what you need when you need it. In learning to rest, the thing that I have discovered has been the most important for me is the skill and the practice and the discipline of being able to listen to yourself, recognize what you need, and then respond. Now, listen, tuning into our needs is hard. Being able to translate them, like, okay, I feel this way and this is what that means, that's also hard. And then actually setting aside other things long enough to care for yourself. All of these things are a practice and a discipline. And the more that we do them, the better we get at them. So the first part of that is being able to listen to yourself and recognize, or to listen to yourself in the first place. We talked about this a little bit earlier, that we treat other people just so differently than we would treat ourselves most of the time. At least I do. Again, if my daughters came up to me and said, "Mommy, I'm hungry," I would feed them right away. I would recognize the thing that they're asking me for and I would respond to it. But I totally don't do that for myself. I could be needing food or water or exercise or sleep or time with friends or time by myself. And it's almost like I have a toddler kind of patting my leg saying, hey, listen to me. I need something. And I'm like, just like, go away, take a minute. I don't have time for this. Take care of yourself. Like that's what I do to myself. I push myself off. I don't listen to the things that I need a lot of times. And so that's the very first thing is like recognizing when there's someone tapping on your leg saying, hey, I need something. Being tuned into yourself enough and kind enough to yourself to listen to the things that your own body and mind and soul and spirit and heart are asking you for. So then the next thing is like recognizing what you need. Sometimes the thing we ask for isn't the thing we actually need. This also happens a lot when it comes to feeding my kids. They will ask for something that sounds good for a moment, but then they actually don't even want it, it turns out, or they'll ask for something that we are absolutely not going to eat for breakfast. Like, no, we cannot have a whole bowl of M&Ms for breakfast. I know that you'd love that, but like that's not what your body actually needs. And we do that too. We will feel a need, and maybe we attach that need to an ask. I feel something uncomfortable in me, and what I want is like, a whole pizza by myself or something. But really what my body actually needs is rest. Like I'm tired. I think that there's some science behind the fact that sometimes when we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty. And then also, isn't it true that if you are thirsty, you're dehydrated? I don't know if that's true. I think people say that. The point is that sometimes sometimes we don't actually know how to translate our own needs. We feel something longing. We feel a longing at something unsettled within us. And we try to solve that problem in a way that isn't actually going to solve it. So we need to figure out that's something that we need to practice. Something that we get to practice is tuning into ourselves enough that we can hear that little tap that says, hey, I need something. And then bending down and listening long enough to see what the thing is and to actually recognize what would meet the need and actually help you in that moment. And then the last thing is to actually respond, to not put it off, to not say, let's just go a little while longer, or tomorrow, or can't you just wait a little bit longer? To actually give ourselves the thing that we need. But I think that when we do this, when we practice listening to ourselves, recognizing what we need, and then responding, that practice and discipline, the more we do it, the better we get at it. And that's when we actually are able to rest. That's when we actually are able to give ourselves the things we need. So here's the third thing that I've been learning, is that we do need to get a bit creative with how we rest. Because like the question said, there are a bunch of things pulling at us. We have so much going on. It is really hard to figure out. Rest is really hard to come by. And so as I was looking back at the things that have helped me the most over the last couple of years, I noticed that there are four categories of rest that have just really helped a lot, and they've helped a lot in different ways. And so I want to run through them with you. So there are 4 different ways that I think about rest in my life. The first kind of rest that I think about is infused rest. The second one is daily rest. The third one is weekly rest. And the last one is seasonal rest. Now, before I get into this, I want to say again, just like my daily schedule, I'm not super regimented about these. You can be. If you are a calendar person where if it doesn't get on your calendar, it doesn't happen. I'm that way about some things. Then absolutely get this stuff on the calendar. If you are a checklist person, which again, I can be, make it a checklist. I think for me, the reason I don't in this season put these things on my calendar is because then it feels like a task, not a gift. But again, we're all different in the way that we want to handle this. So let me tell you what I mean by these 4 different types. So the first is infused rest. So these are things where these are ways that I have learned to make my daily tasks less taxing and more restful while I'm doing them. So 2 examples of this. One thing that I've learned is that social media really drains me. Not always, but if I'm sitting there and I'm scrolling for a long period of time, I'm going to leave that scrolling session feeling really, really depleted. And so in order to take away something that feels taxing in my life, to leave room for things that feel more life-giving, I downloaded an app, which I can't remember what it's called. We'll link to it in the show notes. It's kind of like the screen time app that Apple has just baked into our phones. But you can set it to be really, really strict. Maybe you can with this. Maybe you can do this with the Apple app too, but I didn't see an option for it. You can make it really strict to where you can restrict yourself from parts of your phone and you cannot access them until that time period is over. Cannot undo it until the time has run out, which is pretty intense. There are less intense options you can choose, but I chose the most intense ones. And so for me, from 9 p.m. until 9 a.m., I have all social media blocked, news sites blocked. I'm trying to think of a couple other ones. Those are the main ones, because I would find that I would go to bed and I would go to bed early and I would think this is, I'm going to feel so restored after this. But then I would lay there and I would just scroll for hours on doing who even knows what, just looking at news articles that were not adding anything to my life, but just depleting me completely. And so that's just an example of taking out something from your daily life that is taxing, that doesn't need to be there. A way of adding more rest into, infusing rest into activities that you're already doing are like, if you're doing sort of a mindless activity, adding something to it. Like if anytime I'm cleaning, I like listening to podcast episodes or audiobooks. It's a way of just making this task I have to do more fun and more life-giving and more restful. Or whenever I'm working, I'm usually in really comfy clothes. And I usually am covered up by a blanket. And if I'm doing something that is like particularly mindless work-wise, sometimes I'll be watching like a fun movie or something in the background. Those are ways of infusing rest and a little bit of delight, but like coziness into tasks that I have to do. So that's infusing, is thinking about how can I make these daily tasks either less taxing or more restful while I'm actually doing them. So that's infused rest. How can I infuse my life with more rest or take things out of it that are taxing? The second thing that I've been thinking about a lot is daily rest. So this is like things that you do throughout the day, like taking breaks after, work really hard for an hour on something and then go take a walk, or call a friend during lunch, or go refill your coffee and take a few minutes off to talk to your mom, or to go on an errand or take a walk during lunch. These are like kind of chunks of rest that you can scatter throughout your day, that even just a nap. Like I've gotten really into naps since my daughters were born. Just a little tiny, a break in the middle of your day where you can refill a little bit, where you can clear your mind and rest your eyes and kind of shake it off and get ready for the next thing. So you're not taking like a giant break. You're not leaving a bunch of things undone. You're just giving yourself a minute between one thing and the next. Giving yourself chances to refill along the way. So that's what I call daily rest. They're just little things that you can sprinkle throughout your day that will just give yourself a refill when you need it. So then the next type of rest that I think about is weekly rest. So this is something that you do like one day a week. This could be the Sabbath that a lot of us talk about. And it's what is something that you can do for like a day, like a whole day out of a week, or most of a day out of a week, or a whole morning or a whole afternoon, something like that, where you can really refill. This is more than running an errand during lunch, or, taking a 30-minute nap at 3:00 when everyone's just tired and dragging. This is like if you were to put gas in your tank, the daily rest, these little bits are like a $5 fill up every once in a while throughout the day. Weekly rest, one day, that's like filling up your whole tank. What do you need in your week in order to feel truly like rested and refilled and restored? Something that I heard, I honestly don't know where I heard this, but I heard someone talk a long time ago about how the kind of work you do during the week, you need like the opposite kind of rest on whatever day of rest you have. So if your job is really physically taxing, maybe your rest is more sedentary. Maybe it's more like reading a book, or thinking, or painting, or something that's more calm and in your head. It's more cerebral. Whereas if your work is really in your head, then maybe you need to get more in your body to rest on whatever sort of day or couple days of the week that you have to rest. My work is very thinky. It's very computer-centered. It's very in my head. And so I don't rest well I think that that's really one of the reasons that reading novels isn't restful to me. Even though they're different from what I do, it's still words, it's still stories. And that brings me right back into my work brain. Whereas something like, I don't know, cooking or being outside or playing with the girls or traveling or going to dinner or, anything that really is away from my computer is how I rest on the weekends. And so that's weekly rest, is like one day a week or 2 days a week if you can. What do you need? And what you need might be the opposite of what you do, of what you spend most of your time doing. That might be the thing that feels the most restful. It definitely is for me. And then the last one I think about is seasonal rest. So this can look like a vacation. Maybe you're able to take a vacation once or twice, or hopefully for all of us, even more than that throughout the year. But it doesn't have to just be a vacation. I told you earlier that I don't work well doing little pockets of like having every hour scheduled for something different throughout the day. it's not the way that my brain works. I feel like I can never really get into something long enough to really do something meaningful there. The same is true for me about, I like to work in big chunks. And so I would rather work really, really hard for a week or two, or even a couple months, like really, really focused. This is what this is about time. And then take my foot off the gas for a while. And so I think of seasonal rest like this is a time to push. This is a time to really focus. This is a time to put my head down, to hunker down, to really focus. And then after every season of push, there's a season of rest. There's a time where I take my foot off the gas, where I close my laptop, where I leave early most days, where I just am working less. And for me, my work personality really is that I would rather do that. I would rather do really hard on and then like really hard off, I guess, than spread it out and have it be like kind of medium all the time. But that's again why it's so important to like not fit a square peg in a round hole, to really figure out what you need and give yourself the things that you need. Because what you need might be different from what I need. And then what I need today may be different from what I need tomorrow. And really, I think we get better at rest when we get better at listening to ourselves. And when we get better at recognizing what we actually need. And when we get better at responding to our own needs. So those are my thoughts on rest. That's it. Those are the things that have really helped me in this season of life. I just want to say again, this is different for all of us. When Carl and I first got married, he was absolutely shocked by the amount of sleep that I need. If I can get 9 hours a night, I am happy girl. It's truly 9 hours is my sweet spot. It's not too much. It's just right. Like and then that gives me the energy I need to just like go hard all day long. Carl needs so much less than that. If he gets 6, it is like he went on vacation. He truly can operate on so much less sleep than I can and operate well. Like really 6 hours is pretty solid for him. And he just couldn't believe that I needed as much sleep as I do. We, after being married for a while and after seeing each other operate, got to really find out like, no, I really do need that much. And he really doesn't. We are all different. We all operate differently. We all have different needs and we all have different needs in different seasons. And so again, I really think rest comes down to listening to yourself and saying, hey, what do you need? And actually giving it to yourself. It's so much less of a formula. It's so much less of a recipe. It's just taking the time to ask yourself every day, what do you need? How can I take care of you today? A friend who sent that question, I hope that's helpful. And I think, one of the things that always helps me the most is knowing that I'm not alone. And so know that in doing so many things and having so much going on in your life, you're not alone. We all are feeling the weight of that. And the more that I watch different women do life differently, and the more I get to talk to so many women throughout the day, women in my own life, women in our community. I get to hear from so many different women who are have all different circumstances. And one of the through lines is that we are all trying to do it all and none of us can. And so that's sort of just been the thing that I've been holding on to tightly and then passing on, like simultaneously holding on to and then passing out as far and wide as I can is nobody's doing it all. Nobody's doing it all. It is just not possible. All of the things that we are asked to do in a day or all the things that are required of us, I don't know, maybe we should even put that in air quotes, like required of us as women, it's just not possible. It's not possible. And so we're all doing the best that we can and we're all doing the best we can together. And that's good enough. In fact, that's great. Anyway, that's just something that I wanted to leave you guys with because it's been really encouraging for me lately. You guys, that is our maybe one and only solo episode. We made it through 47 takes later. Just kidding. The 47 takes were just all in the beginning. And then I finally just made myself keep going. But I'm really glad to get to talk to you. And I in one way or another want to be able to do this more because it is such a gift to get to hear from you guys and to get to be invited into your life. I love being in your corner. I love being in your corner. And I love getting to share the things that I'm going through and I'm learning and I'm, dealing with and struggling with too. I think, truthfully, social media is not the place where I do that well. I have a really hard time being present in my life and present on social media at the same time. And so if I'm constantly taking photos of my kids and my life and the things that we're going through. And because I'm a huge documenter, I am our family documentarian. It is so important to me to capture our lives and to save them so that we can remember them and look back on them. But the process of sharing them, I just if I go to share a photo in a moment, I'm not in that moment anymore. And I have yet to figure out a good rhythm or a good way to do that, to share my life and live it at the same time. And so I'm always looking for ways where I can do that more authentically in a way that's life-giving for me and for you guys. And so anyway, this is one of the things that we're trying is a solo episode instead of me trying to give you life updates as I'm, running from one thing to the next or, doing Instagram stories on the go. Maybe we can just do it all at once and talk about different things all at once or do big life updates in big chunks like this. I told you I like to work in big chunks. Speaking of life updates, there are so many things that I have to tell you guys. So much has been going on lately. We have made some massive changes in our lives that are so good and fun and crazy. And I'm like, I cannot believe we're doing this. There's just some really fun things going on. A couple of them I can't tell you about yet, but I will soon. A couple of them, I just need to get the story all together so that I can really explain it and tell it well. But updates coming soon. Really fun stuff happening in our corner of the world. And really, really fun things coming to our corner of the internet as well. So I have a point to this, I promise. But when we, pretty early into our life here in Nashville, we had these neighbors that had built onto their house and then built onto that addition and then did an addition on that addition and then done an addition on that addition on that addition. And their house looked kind of crazy as a result. I never got to go in it. But we were never close with these neighbors. And so I never got to see sort of the results of their creativity on the inside of the house, but I could see the outside. And they had put a hot tub on their garage roof. And they had built turrets around the garage roof. It was flat. So they had these sort of castle-looking turrets on a not castle-looking house. It was wild. And a hot tub in the middle. And then they had built a walkway from the house to the garage. Again, yeah, it was crazy. And I a little bit feel like that's kind of what happens when we're doing things on the fly, when we're, adding things and changing things, and we don't have time to sit down and look at plans and have a really long-term vision. And so there are a couple of areas in our corner of the internet where I feel like I've put a hot tub on our garage roof. And there are some things that I want to just reorganize and put some, organize us a little bit, make things make a little bit more sense. So one of those areas is, I told you guys that last summer I went on a girls' trip with my friends and we decided, I promise all this is going to connect. I know I've started 3 different stories. We decided that we needed girls' trip shirts. We needed matching shirts for our girls' trip because you just do. But then we went on the internet and I'm not kidding, could not find something that we liked. We couldn't find something that was our style. We couldn't find something that said what we wanted it to say. A lot of the shirts that are the most popular say girls' trips are cheaper than therapy, which I don't know that they no, we're pro girls' trip and we are pro therapy in my corner of the world. So anyway, I kind of had this realization after we bought shirts we weren't that excited about, that weren't soft or cute. And I thought, why don't better girls' trip shirts exist? And I decided to make some. I am a firm believer in the fact that you should make the things that you wish existed. And so that's what I did. And so before I knew it, though, we had the Girls Night podcast. We have StephanieMayWilson.com, just my main website. And we had a shop for all things Girls Night podcast and Stephanie May Wilson. So that's all my books. We have these fan favorite Girls Night sweatshirts that say my favorite night is Girls Night, and they're super comfy. And so all of that has just lived in my shop forever. And then last summer, I made the Girls Trip gift shop, which was these Girls Trip shirts that I thought need to exist in the world, and I'm going to make them. But then I a little bit started to notice not long ago that it feels like we have a hot tub on the roof of our garage, that things are a little bit off, a little bit disorganized. And so kind of part of what I'm up to these days is, getting out some plans, reimagining things, trying to figure out how I want this to look long-term and starting to move some pieces so that it just makes more sense. So it makes more sense for me and works better for me. And so that it makes more sense for you guys and works better for you. And so I'm so happy to say that I have officially taken the hot tub off the roof, done a little bit of restructuring. And now in my main shop, StephanieMayWilsonShop.com, that's where you'll find all my resources. That's where you'll find my books, my prayer journals, my courses, workbooks, guides, anything to help you through a transition, make a big decision, and create a life you love. That is where all of that is going to live. But if you are looking for anything for a girls' night or a girls' weekend or a girls' trip, any sort of matching shirts for you and your friends or gifts for your girlfriends, that's going to be living in the Girls' Night gift shop. And it's girlsnightgiftshop.com. And so if you're going on a girls' trip and need a matching shirt, which if you're going on a girls' trip, you do need a matching shirt. It's just the rules. I don't make the rules. I follow them. Or if you're looking for any of our girls' night stuff, like I said, we have this gray, my favorite night is girls' night sweatshirt that is so soft, that has become just a favorite over the years. If you're looking for any of those things, those are in our brand new Girls' Night gift shop. And we're also going to have, especially as we get closer to the holidays, some really fun, like best friend gifts, because that's the other thing I've found is that it's really hard to find good gifts for your best friend. Unless like something she wants for her kitchen or a pair of shoes or something she wants. But like a sweet, thoughtful, I'm thinking of you, I care about you, I want to encourage you sort of gift for friends. I have never been able to find anything I like. And so we're going to make it. So that is our attempt at taking the hot tub off the roof, organizing ourselves a little bit better. And we'll continue to do that. I just want to make our corner of the internet as helpful as possible for you. And kind of easy to manage for me too. So that's what we have. If you're looking for books or anything, words or decisions or transitions related, StephanieMayWilsonShop.com. If you're looking for any gifts for your girlfriends or matching shirts for girls' nights, girls' weekends, or girls' trips, that's all in our brand new Girls' Night Gift Shop.com. I think that's it, guys. We did it. We made it through. Thank you so much for listening to our very first, potentially only solo episode. I am wishing all of us some really good rest. I'll talk to you soon.